A lot of y'all know I sucked as a streamer when I first started. I streamed to 20 people for 4 years, so I definitely know what it's like to be streaming and not growing at all. And as much as I didn't want to admit it back then, there were definitely some things that I did that kept me small. The first mistake I made is that I streamed Dota 2 for years. Now, I know what it's like. I was totally obsessed with Dota back in the day. I loved it. I played that game for 10 hours a day and I thought, well, might as well be streaming it since I'm playing the game anyways. Unfortunately, as of now, this isn't really a great path to take to see growth on Twitch. Unless you want to pull a Harris Heller and work your butt off on YouTube to be able to grow an awesome community that will feed back into you playing a saturated esports title like PUBG, you're not really going to see the same amount of growth, unless you want to put in the same amount of work that Harris has put in. Now, of course, there are always exceptions to the rule, and you could be the exception. But if I had listened to any of my community members back then and realized that Dota 2 just wasn't a game that was working out for me or for them, I would have grown a lot faster. The second mistake that I made is that I had a toxic mindset. So I would see other people succeeding, I'd compare myself to them, and then I'd get really angry because they saw success and I wasn't. I was constantly overwhelmed with all of the things that I had to take care of, and I was constantly ungrateful for the success that I did have. And I realized that I had always brought that lack of success back to myself. So I thought, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not funny enough, I'm not interesting or cool enough, and I'm not skilled enough. Some of you guys might say that it's because you're not a girl that you're not seeing success, but it's not until I realized that my lack of success wasn't about my physical features, it was actually because I wasn't causing a transformation in the lives of the people that were spending their time with me that I started to grow. When you see someone who has more viewers than you, they don't have more viewers because they're cooler than you are. They have more viewers because they're better at creating a transformation in the lives of the people that are watching them. The third mistake I made is that I canceled streams all the time, so I was inconsistent, and I stopped streaming multiple times, yet I always came back. And I feel like the reason for a lot of this is because it's exhausting, right? It's so hard to put so much time and energy and effort into your content and to not see growth after you've put all of that effort in. I think anyone would get burned out and maybe a little bit jaded, so I totally understand if you have felt this way, or if you've stopped streaming and come back and now you feel guilty, or if you feel like stopping streaming. It's really hard. So I kind of equate this to burnout, and I think one of the best strategies for this is to learn where your time is spent well and where it is not spent well. If you're spending a ton of time on things that just aren't growing you, maybe you don't need to be spending time on those anymore. The fourth mistake I made is that I relied on my community to pay the bills. Now I get it, talking about money can feel really weird and icky. If it does for you, you might consider checking out this book. I'll leave a link for it down below. And the reason that this was a huge mistake for me is because people run dry, and it feels kind of gross asking our communities to consistently foot the bill for us, right? I still kind of have problems incentivizing people subscribing or tipping or cheering. It just kind of feels weird. Back then, this was a mistake because I just didn't build a business model. If you say streaming is like a business, you should treat it like a business and learn how to generate revenue. And Wikipedia is gonna back me up on this one. You don't have revenue, you don't have a business. The fifth mistake I made is that I just did what the popular streamers were doing, and I did what everyone on YouTube told me to do. And I get this. In the very beginning, it's a fantastic way to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. But after a certain point, it becomes problematic because you don't create your own identity. I had no direction back then. I had no North Star. I tried a bunch of different things trying to see if something would stick, and nothing did. It wasn't until I started doing a bunch of exercises that I really found what my space was and what I was passionate about. And actually, those are the exercises that are included in the workbook that comes with my ebook. There's a link for that down below too. So it wasn't until I figured all of these things out that I started to grow beyond 0 followers and 0 viewers. I actually have a video about this if y'all want to go and check that out. It's right over here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!